Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Derek Feuerstein. I'm the president of the East Longmeadow Rotary Club. We partnered with other members in our community to put this educational event together for you. And thank you, everybody, for coming. If you'd like to learn more about Rotary, you can find one of us in the back there. And I'm going to turn it over to Adele, who's going to be running our show.
Thank you. So I'm the one on the end of the registration. Thank you very much for all coming. And I talked to a bunch of you from Springfield School because I'm also with Trinity. Yeah, okay. Wait, nobody threw anything at me yet, so I think I'm doing okay so far. So thank you. This is our 4th annual, hopefully we'll continue to have an annual human trafficking awareness event. Over the last 4 years, and we've been working with many different people in the community to do these types of events. The first year we put together some backpacks. We had a little group of people over at the high school talking to us, or talking to them. The next year we donated some back-to-school backpacks to one of the elementary schools, and again we did our backpack event. Last year we had the honor of having a survivor come and speak with us and share some of her perspectives, which I'll get to a little bit later. And then this year, we have again, an honor, Bay State Family Advocacy, RFK Community Alliance is with us. We also have an immigration attorney from Connecticut who's going to give a little bit different of a talk on important things. And we also have the Underground with us, which is the Connecticut-based, faith-based agency that works with survivors. To start this off, Teresa's all ready to go. I'm not going to do bios because everybody ends up doing their own bio if you've ever been to an event. So Teresa's going to come up and tell you about her.
Good evening. Thank you again for coming. I do have some remarks, but first, my name's Teresa, like Adele mentioned. I am too a member of the East Longmeadow Rotary Club. We started this, like Adele said, several years ago, 4 years ago, and so I'm really grateful that you're all here tonight. It's a great group of people, from Rotarians to lawyers to educators, nurses, so thank you all. I'm just doing a quick intro before the speakers come up, and I just want to stress the importance of this evening, not just for you as individuals, but for us as our community, because today's both about learning and doing, right? Because before we begin build the care packs over here and we hear from amazing speakers, there's perspectives from the law to education to healthcare and community work. All this is really important, but I want to be clear from the start that this is a real issue in our neighborhoods and in our own communities. And I'm sure we're going to hear from our expert panelists, but I just want to let you know that human trafficking is actually one of the fastest growing industries in the world. Most young people are among the most at risk. It's estimated that about 40% of trafficked victims in the US are minors. And many of those young adults face things like housing instability, poverty, lack of consistent support. For example, like exploitation, a lot of it begins online, and that's something that not a lot of us realize. Many cases start online, often through things like social media, in many spaces where you think your children feel safe. In a vast majority of online cases, the trafficker actually doesn't even know the victim. And what makes this especially challenging is that vulnerability isn't always visible. It can affect youth and young adults from any backgrounds, whether you come from a middle-class family, whether you're suffering from being unhoused, couch surfing, you're aging out of the system, it doesn't matter. It can affect anyone. And that's why what we're doing today matters so much, because these care packs that we're building are about meeting basic human needs, especially for young adults who may be facing housing instability or uncertainty. For example, a warm blanket and gloves, sanitary and hygiene products, they're items that can offer care, dignity, and support. Especially for someone navigating instabilities, these aren't really small things, they're actually big things. And they can mean warmth on a cold night, reassurance that someone actually cares about them. So each care pack sends a really clear message to those who are going to be receiving it. You are seen, you deserve care, and your community has not forgotten you. So this kind of practical support is one of the most powerful tools of prevention we have as a community members, as a community base. Because when young people's basic needs are met, when they feel supported rather than isolated, they are less vulnerable to exploitation and harm. So what makes tonight especially meaningful is that everyone here brings something different to this work. Whether your role is in law, education, healthcare, or you're a community member here just to learn more, your presence helps strengthen the network of care that keeps young people safe. So after we hear from our speakers, we'll move into building the care packs together, putting what we've learned together in action. So thank you all for being here, for listening to our speakers, and for showing up with compassion and commitment to our local community.
And Naomi's going to come up, and I'm going to get her slides ready.
Hi, everybody. I'm not used to using a mic, so this might be a challenging thing for me today, so I apologize. My name is Elizabeth Rogers. I'm one of the clinicians at the Bay State Family Advocacy Center, where we work with young people up to age 24 if they've experienced a trauma, which can include exploitation and trafficking. And we also have a program for somebody any age who's lost somebody to homicide. Our clinic itself focuses on higher. Oh, is that better? Oh, I sound so loud to myself. So our clinic is solely focused on trauma. Do people want me to recap a little bit what I said, or are you okay? Okay. And then Naomi's going to introduce herself, and then we have a presentation a little bit about the FAC itself, and then Naomi will speak more specifically about our programs around children's trafficking programs.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Naomi Pagan. I am the new CSEC coordinator for the Family Advocacy Center, so I'll be in charge of all the trafficking cases for Hampton County, and we'll speak a little bit about what that looks like later on. And previous to that, I was a case manager at the Family Advocacy Center, so I was already supporting a lot of these families and cases. We do a lot of the forensic interviews too, so we work closely with the district attorney's office, law enforcement, and DCF in the investigations, and we'll dive deeper into exactly what that looks like in the FAC in our presentation.
So at the FAC, our mission is to lead the community in improving the health, safety, and well-being of children and families affected by abuse, violence, and sexual exploitation. And I just wanted to also share that we do this work every day. We're really used to the language that we speak. We're really used to the acronyms, and we're really used to talking about topics that people might not speak about every day. Some of the stuff that we talk about tonight might be the first time you've heard it. It might feel very alarming. It might just kind of not make you feel too good. So if you need to take a breath, step outside, go to the restroom, I just wanted to encourage you to take care of yourself during this part, because I think sometimes we are so used to talking about it, we forget sometimes that this is very new information for people. So I just wanted to say, if you have questions, please ask us. If there's something that seems confusing, please ask us. And we're really grateful that we're able to reach new people and talk about it, because it is happening in all the communities around us, unfortunately. So at the FAC, we have both clinical and case management services. Typically, when a youth or a family comes to us first, they touch our case management team. And that consists of our caseworkers, Naomi, who is our CSEC coordinator, she mentioned. We have a medical social worker if somebody needs to be examined if there's any evidence around physical or sexual abuse. They obviously have a supervisor, and this team focuses on information and referrals, court advocacy, like if they have to fill out any paperwork around
Victims compensation, if they need help or assistance going to court. Some families need that support, the additional support, so case managers can support them as well.
And then with regards to the social services advocacy, someone that comes to the FAC for case management might not necessarily be referred for therapy right away. So the case managers are really assessing that child and that family and what additional support they could utilize. So that might be us, or it might be somebody else, maybe closer to their neighborhood. We cover all of Hampden County, so sometimes coming to our office in Springfield is not the easiest for people ongoing. So the case managers are really great about utilizing other services, not just our own. And then we do offer support groups for families and children. So I'm part of the therapy team, and we focus on trauma-focused work for, like I said, children and young adults up to age 24. We have our homicide bereavement program. We have a suicide bereavement program if somebody's coming to us for traumatic grief. And then Naomi will speak more in a few minutes about our commercial sexual exploitation of children and our trafficking programs. But people are able to access individual counseling with us. We use evidence-based models and evidence-informed treatment. So TFCBT, the trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, if kids are at the point where they're ready for talking about what happened to them, we work with them on some practical skills like learning about trauma, learning about how to cope, how to relax, learning about talking about their feelings, learning about their thoughts, with the goal, if they are comfortable, of sharing their past trauma with us to show that there is a safe adult that they can talk to, that they can kind of reclaim their narrative. It sometimes helps to reduce symptoms, like if they're having a lot of flashbacks or nightmares, getting it out of themselves, like out of their body, which I don't understand all of the mechanisms, you know what I mean, behind that, but it just has some kids feel better afterwards. I had one kid, after they finished speaking their narrative to their family, just ripped it all up into pieces, and they were done. They just felt better right away. And I had another kid who didn't want to share with anybody, just wanted to share in session and then tell their parents that they did it, that they finished it. So everybody is different, and that's fine. And I think our team is really great about just recognizing that for the young people. And then we also do a lot of groups, particularly around our homicide bereavement program. And then we're doing a couple events coming up. So in April, we're doing our second annual family resource fair to talk about different things around child abuse and awareness. So that's actually just the second time we'll be doing it, but we really had a great response from the community the first time, and we're gonna have that be an annual event. So I've covered a lot of this already. The two that I just want to highlight at the bottom, Naomi will be going into more detail about the One Mission program. And we do have a component of, my program around the trauma and the homicide bereavement, it's funded through the Victims of Crime Act, which we get through Massachusetts state money. But if people have experienced a different kind of trauma, like suicide bereavement or traumatic grief, they can still access our services. We just usually bill their insurance for it. And these are the trauma-focused services we do. We offer assessments. We screen for past traumatic events that maybe they didn't come to us for initially, just to kind of get a holistic picture of where they're at. We screen their symptoms. And we do this to basically, at the very beginning, normalize for the child it's okay to talk about tough stuff, it's okay to share it, and that we've heard this before, and that we're there for them and they can speak to us freely. And then the individual treatment plan is based on what their goals are, what their needs are, and we involve the caregivers as appropriate and as the child and the young adult want. So if somebody is in foster care, for example, it might be their foster parent or their DCF worker bringing them. So that might not necessarily be someone we bring into session unless the child, wants that support. Some kids are brought by their caregivers, their mom, their dad, their grandma, and sometimes they want to share what they talked about, and sometimes they don't. What we do really think is important, though, is helping the kid to be able to teach the parent or the caregiver the skills they learn in therapy. So then the parent and the caregiver can support the young person at home, because we only see them, I see them once a week for an hour if I'm lucky. And so really we need the parents and caregivers involved to be able to support the skill building that they have, and always focusing on enhancing safety and safety planning. All right, so these are more models, which we can keep going. So, and then I'm gonna hand it over to Naomi, who's gonna talk about our other programs.
All right, so many of you got the Unveil flyer. So the Unveil Training Initiative is an initiative by Bay State Health to bring the awareness on child abuse and child trafficking to the faith community. So we are going out to churches, to faith organizations, and providing training to the faith leaders so that they can identify children that are being abused, children that are being at high risk for trafficking, be able to support the families that are going through that situation, and also training them on how to report it so that the families can have the support from the community as well. So the training is available in both English and Spanish. It is completely free of cost for all faith communities, and it is running until June of this year. So we are spreading the word. Any faith communities that are interested in receiving the trainings for their leaders, we're trying to spread the word so they can take advantage of this opportunity. And so the faith leaders are also provided with a box of resources that they can use for themselves that have guidelines of how to report, how to file a report with DCF, what signs to look out for, who to call for services, for therapy, for case management. And they also have folders that they can provide for their families as well. So our One Mission program is our program that is specific for commercial sexual exploitation and trafficking of children. So it's a little bit how Elizabeth has touched on. The One Mission program ensures that there is care coordination for the children and their families, as well as case management. So that might look like referrals for other agencies. For example, RFK, I know they're here. We collaborate a lot with them. Providing therapy services that are specific for the model of child trafficking, so clinicians that are trained to work with those clients. We are all constantly doing groups as well, where the kids can come in and do different activities, but also, supporting groups and other agencies too. A lot of times, these kids might feel like they're the only ones that are going through this, and in reality, they're not, right? So we try to connect them with other kids too that are going through the same thing. And again, case management support, they help with referrals, they help with core advocacy if needed, they help support the parents, provide psychoeducational materials for the parents. A lot of times parents don't understand what's going on, don't understand how this can happen to their kid, right? And so that's what case management comes in for, to be able to support parents in that process as well. So commercial sexual exploitation of children and trafficking is defined when individuals buy, trade, or sell sexual acts with a child that is considered sex trafficking. So the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for the purposes of commercial sex act. This includes sexual exploitation, pornography, stripping, live sex shows, gang, family, and internet-based exploitation. And some of the risk factors, these are just a few, but for example, child welfare involvement, so a child that's in and out of DCF care, constantly involved in the system, a child that's having risk-taking behaviors, right? So they're constantly on social media, they're sending nude pictures of themselves to other people, of a child that is willing to meet with people that they don't know off of online, right? So these are some of the risk behaviors that kind of just give us the red flag, something's going on, we need to keep an eye on this child. Foster care placement can be a risk factor as well, and challenges with parental supervision, right? If parents are not around, if the child just is constantly leaving the home with no supervision, if the child is constantly on their phone, no one's checking to see what's going on in the phone, who they're talking to. So these are some of the red flags that we look out for whenever we receive reports. And here are some other red flags on how to identify as well. So like multiple STIs, hypervigilance or fear, concerning social media use, like I said, references to going in and out of state, right? So we've had cases of kids that, leave their home and are meeting a friend in New York, right? How are they getting there? Who are they meeting, right? So those are kind of just some of the red flags that we're looking for. If they're, having multiple cell phones, or they're coming home with like their nails done, their hair done, and parents have no idea who's paying for this. And I also just want to say a side note, I know we have 10 minutes to just give you the presentation, but our team does provide in-depth trainings in regards to child commercial sexual exploitation. So if you want a training to your employer, you want us to bring it to your employment, you want us to bring it to any organization that you belong to, we can also provide those trainings too, with a little bit more detailed and in-depth of how to identify children that are at high risk. And so here is our contact information. So again, I'm the CSEC coordinator. So I am receiving all of the child commercial sexual exploitation children cases, high risk as well. If you're not really sure, but you don't know how to, report it, or you're not sure if you should report it, you can feel free to give us a call as well, and we can guide you through that process. And so Elizabeth as well is also a resource if you have any questions in regards to our resources. If you're not sure if they're, somebody that qualifies to get our services, feel free to just call and we can kind of assess that for you, so you don't have to worry about it, okay? And I think that's it.
Awesome. So the slides and everything, I am going to send out everybody a link to the East Longmeadow Rotary Club website, so you can actually download these if you want. If you want to save it to your computer and save the environment, that's fine too. but I'll put them up within the next few days and I will send it out by email. So next we have Talia and Simone, who I met about 3 years ago when we were doing this, from RFK Community Alliance.
Hi. We're not used to microphones either. Hi, my name is Simone Best. I'm a survivor mentor in the Hampden County.
And I am Talia. I am the program coordinator and survivor mentor for Berkshire County. We do the same thing. We cover basically all of Western Mass at this point, all the way up to North County and Berkshire, all the way over to Southampton County. What does a mentor do? I will let Simone kind of explain. All of our days are different. But at RFK Community Alliance, we do work with boys and girls, and I do want to make sure we emphasize this does happen to boys as well. Right now in Berkshire County, we are 50-50 boys and girls with 7 new referrals for boys. So this does happen to them too. Boys and girls at ages 11 to 24. And Simone will kind of tell you what a mentor does, because every day is different. So that question is kind of hard for us because whoever knows. I'm sure most of you know teenagers, and teenagers are trauma. It's a different roller coaster every day, but Simone can explain.
Yeah, so on my day-to-day with my caseload, my girls are adamant about getting out and having jobs and like not depending on someone else to tell them how much they can spend, what they can spend it on. So I like to help them get jobs or like work towards accomplishing their goals that they set for themselves that someone told them they won't ever be able to amount to. So yeah, we go to the malls, we walk around, like window shop, and let them see like different styles of things that they like, and they create their styles and who they want to be and who they want to project to the world, because 9 times out of 10 they're always being told there's something belittled than what they feel like they want to be. So I help build their self-esteem too, and help them see that their story and their voices matter, and the past doesn't shape who you are going to be in the future. You are able to move past it and keep going. We go to do community service. We'll help with, we haven't done it in a while, but we'll help with like pantry and give out food. That we haven't done that in a long time. But the girls are adamant about trying that, and sometimes we connect with, I believe it's Dress for Success. Mm-hmm. They have the yoga every first Thursday of the month. We'll go to their event and do that. Just things in the community where they're able to like be around other youth that are going through struggles and doing things that they didn't think that people in their predicament can do.
All of our services are free. And we do provide transportation, which is a huge thing, especially out in Berkshire County. We do not have like reliable transportation. So we are in our cars all the time. We beat them up a whole lot. But like I said, everything is free. And when we do intakes, we kind of explain to the kids, like, we don't share our trauma, but we will say we have been through kind of similar things that you have when we were younger. And they kind of identify more to that, and they feel comfortable coming to us. They feel a little safer, that they don't think we're going to judge or make any assumptions about them. We are the what happens after. We are the ones who want to show them that you can make it to where we are. You can have a seat at the table with us. What we are kind of working on as well right now, a huge thing for us, is internet safety. We know that kids are going to be on social media. They're going to send photos. They're going to be attached to their phone. We are working right now, and they're doing sessions with us. They kind of just dump their phones, leave them out. They'll put them away so they can get a break from it. But we are working on things like the Snapchat. Those pictures do not disappear. I know a lot of teens think they do. That digital imprint is on the internet forever. We're also working on Instagram. I did just personally 2 months ago testify against Facebook about safety of minors on there. And what was the other one? Instagram,
Snapchat, and
Facebook,
TikTok.
Thank you, and TikTok. So we make them fun so they don't realize they're learning while we do it. But we host internet safety classes with the District Attorney of Berkshire County, and Kids Place, which provides therapy for us out in Berkshire County. We do internet safety with them. I will send you a link, but next month, the District Attorney of Berkshire is hosting Internet Safety for Parents on Zoom so that you don't have to drive anywhere. You can join from the safety of your own home. But they will cover how to stay safe online, what things to look for, and also what kind of things could happen if a child does report something happened online, or if they had made a mistake and maybe shared a photo they shouldn't have. They can talk about that as well. We do work with a program called Take It Down. I can also send a flyer for that. And if you are in possession, or the teenager, minor, adult, whoever it is in possession of that photo or the video that they do not want out on the internet, unfortunately, if it's already out there and another person has it, that's something we're still working on. But NECMEC, the National Missing Center for Exploited Children, they come and help us remove those images from the internet. And they make it very easy for minors to do that. They don't have to have a parent's permission, or they don't have to have an adult. NECMEC will take it down and walk through the process with them to get it removed, so that there's no stigma of embarrassment or going to an adult to be like, I made the mistake. They will help the child, and we can help them also. It's a very easy process, but it's called Take It Down, because we do know at this point 90% of the youth that we work with have sent nudes or videos, and then we step in and help them to make those safer choices in the future. But step one is to help them get those images off their phone. As far as referrals, everyone does ask us that as well. Who do I call? What can we do? I can speak for Berkshire, but if you want to talk about how in Hampden, you can do that.
In Hampden County for referrals, you'll reach out to the program coordinator, who is not here tonight, but I have business cards, so you can actually send them out to me. Anyone can refer a youth to work with us. The youth can self-refer themselves to the program.
We'd rather you send one and we were like, oh, that is actually not human trafficking, but let us help you work through or suggest a different program for you. We'd rather you just refer all day, every day. And if it is correct for a program, we're going to help you out. And if it's not, we'll direct you in the right place. So anybody, like she said, can refer. There's no embarrassment. I actually don't know if this is right. We get most of our referrals from law enforcement, district attorney, which means most of our kids have already been recovered and they're going through the healing process. And that's where we step in. Hampden County works with DCF a lot. That's where most of their referrals come from. And a little stigma too, and a lot of people say, well, that doesn't happen in our town, that doesn't happen in our neighborhood. I will say both of our programs in both counties are almost at a wait list because we cannot take any more kids at this time. We're getting pretty close. We are stressed out ourselves. Yes. To a point that, you can't take too many on, because how can I help you if I'm trying to see 50 kids in one day? But just to let you guys know that it does happen, it's a real thing here in Western Mass. Both of our programs are almost on a wait list. I also brought cards, and we will be available after for questions. We won't make you do that now, but please come up to us. Feel free to ask us anything. We are both open books, and we'd be more than happy to help. And we can give you cards and information and how to do the Take It Down, or how for internet safety. If you wanted to join that class on Zoom, we'd be happy to provide that information for you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have the Underground with Nadine.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nadine Thomas. I'm with the Underground New England out of Connecticut. We're a faith-based organization. We work with adult survivors of human trafficking. We've been around for a little while as an awareness organization, just going across the state and holding awareness events on human trafficking. And 4 years ago, we started offering direct services to survivors. And 2 years ago, we really amped up our program, expanded, and it's really a great program right now. We're working with 30 adults at the moment. And there are 15 on the wait list that are receiving services or assistance, but not quite yet in the program until we're able to bring them in, having the resources to do so. So I just wanted to, a little bit, Naomi spoke about human trafficking, and she gave the definitions and So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that but before I go, let me just say that some of the things you will hear may cause some kinds of trigger. It might make you feel uncomfortable. Please, if you're feeling uncomfortable, take some time, just step away, take a deep breath, but please come back and hear what we have to say. So human trafficking is both labor trafficking and sex trafficking. And so labor trafficking is defined as recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for labor or services through the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of subjection, servitude, debt bondage, slavery. And force, fraud, or coercion could be violence, fraudulent contracts, claiming false debt, withholding documents, restricting movements, and such the like. And labor trafficking can be in any sector. Labor trafficking is in farming, manufacturing, dancing, strip clubs, massage parlors, or just debt bondage, owing your someone's family may owe a debt, and to repay the debt, someone has to work to repay that debt. And then there's sex trafficking. And if you'll notice, there's a slight difference between Naomi's definition and mine. Where there is an individual who's been obtained or harbored, transported, or provided for a commercial sex act, if the individual is under the age of 18, there is no need to prove force, fraud, or coercion. It's automatically trafficking. If the individual is over 18, then the burden of proof is on that person to prove force, fraud, or coercion. And force, fraud, or coercion in sex trafficking would include withholding drugs, withholding documents, posing as a boyfriend, popularly called grooming, physical abuse, restricted movement, threats, legal charges, any kind of threat, hurting your family. Continue, please. Sex trafficking could be someone who is sold by a family, and in Connecticut, familial trafficking is among the greatest incidents. Coerced by boyfriend, forced by a gang, or just sold by a mentor. And let me just say that most of these examples I'm giving, if not all, are from the clients that we work with. These information are from our clients. So a lot of times we have this narrative of what human trafficking is. And a lot of times when we go out to awareness events, what is human trafficking? Oh, someone comes up with a van and grabs this person. Someone is tied up in a basement or locked up in a hotel room. But a lot of times human trafficking really is not like that. Human trafficking is more about a mental bondage, especially with adults, a mental bondage than it is a physical bondage. It's not always violent, and it's often not started with violence. It's always started with love and care and being a savior and a guard and a guide, and then it evolves or devolves into something sinister and dark and wicked. And this is, again, most of these is from data collected from our clients. Nationally, 66% of adults had no DCF involvement. Basically, they were experiencing childhood abuse, but they were never connected with DCF resources. 83% of our clients have experienced poverty growing up. 96% experience abuse or family instability. The average age of our clients who have been trafficked is 17 and 18, but we have clients who've been trafficked as young as 2 years old. They've experienced ongoing trafficking. Most have been trafficked by partners, because when an individual comes out of a trafficking situation, the cycle continues. They're going to meet another relationship that they're also trafficked, and another, and it continues. It's a continuous vicious cycle. subjected to community narratives. Of course, an individual being trafficked as a child most time is seen as a bad person. And there's that stigma that's attached. And because of, that kind of community narrative, they're more likely to continue that cycle. What are the impacts of trafficking? Survivors have to overcome psychological trauma. All of our clients are being treated for some kind of psychological and mental illnesses, chronic diseases, sicknesses and diseases that have not been treated for years while they were with their trafficker, physical trauma, broken bones that have never received any kind of medical care. Substance use, all of our clients have substance use. 90% are still struggling. Some of them are able to break that. Individuals suffer with substance use because, they're forced to use substance for two reasons. Either the trafficker forces them to use it as a form of control, or they use it just to numb the whole process. Sexually transmitted disease, there's another wide spectrum of that. Infertility, reproductive coercion, clients who have been forced to have children to be sold, or clients who have been forced to take abortions that were never, not medically correct. Dental problems. Okay, so what are some of the barriers to recovery? Truth is, there are so many agencies and resources for child trafficking and children who are being trafficked, but so very little resources for adults. And so the barriers mount up that prevent really and creates a challenge for an adult to escape trafficking. At exit, our clients need trauma-informed healthcare. Sometimes it takes us 6 months or even a year to get an adult to go to the doctor because of how they're treated and just the stigma, the shame, their experience. And so we had to create a relationship, a partnership with a medical care provider, train the team, and now our clients have a safe space, that trauma-informed space that they can go to access healthcare. 70% need safe housing. You're living with your trafficker for many years. To leave that environment, you have no resources. So their two options are to stay here and have a roof over your head, or to leave and be homeless. 60% need supportive community. 69% need stable work, and that's at the point of exit. Years later, we still have clients who are struggling with criminal records that they had during their trafficking years. Debt being paid off. Financial abuse is real with adults. Traffickers take out credit and loan in the name of their victims. And years later, these individuals, they're stuck with it because it's their name and their social security number. And of course, 31% still need to establish or to repair credit. So what's the biggest resources we give to survivors? Our survey showed us that housing is number 2, healthcare is number 3, mentoring is number 1. They crave community. They need to know that people care for them. They need to know that they are not alone. And so our adult mentor program provides that. We provide, each of our clients, survivors, have one peer mentor and one ally mentor who works with those individuals on a one-on-one basis, case management, just being there for them and guiding through our program is a four phases pathway to care. It's really supposed to be 2 years, but we've had clients or someone who's been in our program for 5 years. So we work at their individual pace. We work with them just to navigate through that process of healing and just becoming independent. Our clients graduate our program when they have a job, when they have an apartment, and when they're meeting their budgets, and when they have completed all the SMART goals that they have set for themselves. So like I said, our program presents a journey to freedom, peer mentorship, direct financial assistance, informed healthcare, flexible housing, and long-term services. Our clients never leave our program. They're always a part of us because, like I said, community is one of their biggest needs, and the Underground tries to provide that for them. And that's it. If you have any more questions, I'm right over here at the end. I'd love to talk to you. Thank you.
And we have a treat. Attorney Sennett's going to speak a little bit about immigration and law.
So thank you all for coming out. My name is Caroline Sennett. I am the Chief Legal Program Officer for the Connecticut Institute for Refugees and Immigrants, which means you're seeing a lot of people from Connecticut tonight. I'm actually in Hartford, so I do get a number of folks coming down from Springfield because they need immigration legal assistance, and we tend to be a shorter trip than going to somewhere like Boston, which is where a lot of other immigration legal options are available. So I was asked to talk about immigration legal challenges. You've already heard some of the information about what trafficking means. And immigration follows federal law. So we're looking at two types of trafficking. We're looking at either labor trafficking or sex trafficking. And the immigrant population is particularly vulnerable to trafficking. One of the threats that was listed in one of the previous slides is a threat of deportation. Folks who are trafficked will often come here with status and then lose it or have it lapse. We also work with people who came here without any status. When we're talking about immigration legal challenges, the immigrant population is not eligible for a lot of the benefits that we can provide to U.S. citizen clients. So if we have a U.S. citizen client who needs food assistance, who needs health care, there are state programs for that. We do not have access to the same programs for individuals who lack documentation. Because this, we have worked really hard. We have an entire program called Project Rescue. In 2025, we provided services to 227 unique clients across that program. And as we move forward in time, this is becoming very difficult for immigration legal challenges. We are looking at increased processing times. We are looking at individuals who are increasingly afraid of coming forward because of concerns about their immigration status. And this here is one of the main applications that we make for folks. This is a T visa. If you take one thing away, I want you to take away the fact that individuals who are without documentation or who don't have a permanent status can get benefits and can have a pathway to get legal status. And that is one of the things that helps them to leave a situation, whether it's trafficking or another unsafe situation, and to stay free of that situation. Right now, we're seeing some changes in immigration policy, which you've probably seen on the news. Before, we had something called a victim-centered approach, which meant that our clients, if they encountered immigration, the immigration officer was specifically required to consider whether that individual was a survivor of a crime, a survivor of trafficking, a survivor of domestic violence, and take that into account in their actions. We also had breeder protections for people who had pending applications where we could tell them, yes, carry your receipt notice. This is going to be protection for you. If you watch the news, a receipt notice doesn't do much right now. The other issue is with this visa, If you are an adult, and I work with both adults and minors, I work with labor trafficking survivors and sex trafficking survivors. If you are an adult, you are required to report to law enforcement unless you can show that you have a trauma exemption. Trauma exemptions are hard to get. And if they do not agree that you suffered sufficient trauma that you cannot cooperate, they can deny your whole visa for failure to report to law enforcement. Historically, we've worked with HSI, which is Homeland Security Investigations, and the FBI, because both of these agencies investigate trafficking, especially trafficking that's happened across the United States, which many of our clients have experienced trafficking outside of Connecticut. Unfortunately, HSI is currently involved in a lot of enforcement activity, and individuals from the FBI are increasingly seen out with ICE agents, which means that clients no longer want to report. If they don't report, it creates a big obstacle for them in their application for this program. Now, the benefit of this program is that if you meet these requirements, if you submit this application, you receive T non-immigrant status, which allows you to live and work in the United States for a period of 4 years. You have to cooperate with law enforcement. You have to be a person of good moral character. After 3 years, if you meet those requirements, you can apply for permanent residence. This is a great visa because normally with family-based immigration, people will need waivers that they cannot get. So if they walked across the border, they might not be able to get their green card because of that immigration violation. The T visa will allow us to waive that inadmissibility. The other benefit is it allows you to include family members. So if you're over 21, you can include your spouse and your children. For our minor victims, they can include their parents and their siblings as well. So it can be a real lifeline for a family, especially since trafficking is already something that impacts a family so much. But in terms of obstacles, I would say the biggest one right now for our clients is processing times. And that's the next slide. Not to date myself, but I've been doing this for over a decade. And in 2014, I would get my T visa approvals in 3 to 4 months. This is beginning in 2014. We went from 5.9 months all the way up to 18.6 months. And at this point for 2025, it's 20.8 months. When I look online, it currently says it's going to be 27.5 months. That's more than 2 years. That's 2 years without status. There can be a work permit in the interim, but the timelines for those are not certain. And when we talk about social services that we can provide, most case management for immigrant programs is 6 months. So 6 months is what we would get through something like TVAP, which is a federal program. That worked really well when my clients got their visa in 4 months. It does not work in this situation, and that unfortunately does create opportunities for re-trafficking. So things that I want you to take away, because I want to give the next speaker time. Basically, immigrants increasingly vulnerable. This is a time of even more vulnerability because people are even more afraid to come forward. I'm an immigration attorney who serves immigrants, and people are canceling appointments because they're afraid to leave their houses. So getting the bravery to come and talk to somebody about labor abuses or other problems is going to be even more challenging. The second thing I want you to take away is that there is immigration relief. So there is a benefit for people to come forward. And while I showed you that definition of trafficking relief, I'm going to say the same thing that you've heard, which is if you think it might be trafficking, if you think it might be an issue, it's better to make the referral. I've helped people who were referred for trafficking apply for other relief based on domestic violence, based on asylum, even family-based relief, if trafficking wasn't the best thing. But if somebody needs immigration status or they need assistance, it's better to make the referral than not. And I think we have one more speaker. So I'm going to give up the mic.
And you're stuck with me. And I'll go through this pretty quickly. You saw 22 News here earlier. This was one of the points I stressed with them. There is a hotline for that. The National Human Trafficking Hotline is an online hotline. The very last slide, I have the number on that as well. They listen, they'll help. They are in conjunction with Operation Polaris. So those with the medical background that are like, what do we look for? What do we interview? They have a free online training module, which I'll touch base very briefly on. And again, I'll get all these slides out to you. Somebody asked about numbers. Thank you for the question. Nationally, since 2007, the National Trafficking Hotline has received 463,000 signals, whether that's an email, whether that's a text message or a phone call, 463,000. They have had 112,822 cases, and they've identified over 1,218,000 victims nationally. In 2024, they received over 32,000 signals with almost 12,000 cases and 21,865 victims. I can't give you East Longmeadow and Springfield because the numbers are not published, probably because it's a little more leery for law enforcement to actually do their jobs if numbers start popping out there in certain locations, because the perpetrators will know that law enforcement's looking in their area. In Massachusetts, since 2007, 4,244, with 1,175 identified cases, over 2,200 victims. Last year alone, 288 signals, 115 cases with 326 victims. Averaging in Massachusetts, 250 cases per year. We had, I told you earlier, we had the honor of a survivor coming to speak to us. LCAT came and videotaped that as well. And a few things that came out of that interview. Her mom had her as a lucrative asset because she made money from selling the child out, so to speak. She was groomed over time, what to say, how to say it, who to say it to. She was restricted from education, from money, from freedom of movement. A Romeo effect, he loves me, so I'll do this for him. Or if it's a male victim, she loves me, so I'll do that for her. Exploitation under drugs, you've heard that from other presentations. I'm giving you the drug you need, so to be able to get the drug, I need you to do this. Hooked and will never leave. That's sort of the way the victims are groomed into being and hopefully break free. Whereas this presentation is hope for those not yet lost, because we can make a difference. A 7-to-1 victim versus perpetrators are arrested. 7 victims, not their perpetrator. So unequal as far as the justice goes. Vulnerability is not the cause, demand is. One of my slides, I had all the stuff on all the headlines in Massachusetts for all the things you've seen coming, and you see the movie stars out there and all of that. And that's great that they put that out there, but they're not getting to where they really need to be, is in our schools, in our health communities, in our community centers and all of that, to really, really look at it. The survivor mentioned stand in the gap for the vulnerable. So thank you again for all coming out for this evening. I know snow's coming and it was a long day. I appreciate you being here because you're now standing in the gap. And when we make those backpacks, you'll be doing that as well. 5 Ps of anti-human trafficking model partnerships. You've heard we've had Rotary Club has a lot of partners, and we have you as a partner now. Prevention, protection, prosecution through our legal system, and also policy. And there was a few years ago, and Talia's going to say, you should have had that right, but there's actually a policy out there, and a legal policy out there that allows the advocate to stand in the court against the perpetrator. The victim is no longer required to be there defending themselves. Their advocates, their mentors can go in and do that. So it's, I believe it's federal policy, which is great. And that came out of somebody who spoke at the One Mission briefing, the first one they had 3 years ago. So that was great to hear and great to know that that's out there. Someone asked about training. Law enforcement is required as part of their police recruit activities academy to take a block of training. I couldn't find it on Google. However, our chief of police, Chief Williams, sent this out over to me. So there is a block of training. There is an annual in-service for all Massachusetts officers. That's both state and local law enforcement in your towns. There's also frequent specialized trainings offered to them, and I'm guessing that's the detectives and those who want to go on to a different job than working on the street, detective bureau and stuff. We'll probably go into those more. The Attorney General's Office for Massachusetts has offers for training by request. So if there was a certain group of a bunch of public school teachers who want the phone number, I will send that out in the slide deck because they will come to you. And the other links that we're going to get about the different trainings, I'll put those all together and get them out to you as well. I mentioned Polaris briefly. It's a survivor-centered, justice and equity-driven movement to end human trafficking. PolarisProject.org is under training right on their website. 6 short models. There are survivor stories. So again, if you're going to be watching that, you've heard this before, and it may touch a piece of your heart, your brain, or anything else, you may want to just be able to take a step back or have a resource available to you as you're looking at those stories. And then also there's some quizzes designed a quiz? Who wants to take a quiz? But there are quizzes there as far as a deeper understanding of those types of issues. This evening, for all who wish to participate, this is what the backpacks are going to be filled with. The drawstring bag I've already put together because I knew it was going to snow tonight and people are like tired, long days, probably don't want to be here for an hour. This is what we're going to put together in those backpacks so that we can send them out with the Underground, Bay State Family Advocacy, as well as RFK Communities. I know you've all heard about the starfish, but I really liked the one for Ronald Reagan. We can't help everyone, but everyone can help someone. So with that said, National Human Trafficking Hotline, if you want to put it in your phones. I'm going to leave the number up here. I'm 1 minute over, but we have about 15 minutes, so if I can have the speakers come back up for questions. If you guys have any questions you want to go through.
Thank you. Yes, great question. So if a child is disclosing sexual abuse and DCF is involved, DCF does involve us in they send us a copy of the report, and most likely they're already working on scheduling a forensic interview for the child. So we would already have on our radar that this child is coming in for an interview. As soon as the families come in for an interview, they automatically get assigned a case manager, and that case manager is now actively supporting the family and providing referrals for therapy.
I think the tricky thing when DCF is involved too is that we don't actually know what information they already know. So the information that you get might be new compared to what the child was originally involved with DCF. So depending on what your agency's policy is, sometimes I would call that in again to the hotline, because then the hotline worker can tell you, oh yes, that's already in the record, and then just make like an add info. But sometimes what you get is new info, and then they have to investigate that new info. So I don't know. And some kids are not ready for therapy right away. So that's why our case management program is really great. The mentoring program is really great. And it's okay that they're not ready for therapy. I think the other tricky thing is that sometimes DCF thinks that kids are ready right away because they know them, but that's not how kids work. And so sometimes the mentoring program, like I had a kid that you guys maybe referred to us, but I'd already had a mentor first for a year before they're ready for therapy. And that's okay. Like it depends on what the young person needs.
One of the slides in the beginning, I think it was in your section, talked about trafficking of handicapped people.
That was a nice slide, but yeah. Basically, any vulnerability, anything that makes someone vulnerable, or yeah. So there are a number of our clients who are autistic. They're adults, but they're autistic, and they've been trafficked, and that was a part of their vulnerability that made them attractive to to the trafficker. Yeah.
When you're thinking about elements of control, the traffickers are often looking for who's easiest to control. And so someone with autism might be not as socially connected. They might have limited family support. And so they're looking for vulnerabilities. I just want to highlight, Adele had a part where she said that, like, the demand is what is driving this. So we're all here, we're talking about the survivors, but just kind of like when you have your ears open, if we hear people kind of joking about, like, they might say prostitutes instead of sex workers, or they might say, like, make fun of people that are victims. I think, like, part of what happens is that people who make these statements are not always challenged, so the demand remains. And I know that when MGM got put in Springfield, there was a lot of concern because you're bringing in a lot of people from out of the state. They come up like the corridor from like New Jersey to New York, 95 to 91 up to Vermont. But, then you have the flip side, like, well, we want to make money for our community, which, does happen. But I think that we miss sometimes what the demand is and what the demand drives. And the demand drives people's vulnerabilities. And so if we kind of have these conversations with people who might not necessarily know the work that we do or know the clients we work with, that's part of the work also, because we could, they could have an unlimited waiting, like, you could take all the kids you work with, but if the demand is still there, it's an uphill battle sometimes. And so we put sometimes too much focus on the survivors to survive and get out of it. And really the responsibility and accountability needs to be on the people who are driving the demand. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there because I think we're all working with the people that are surviving, but we also have to, hold accountable the people that are driving the demand.
On the ratio of the people that, like you said, it was 7 to 1, so you have 7 victims and 1 perpetrator. How come that is so hard? Is it because they're not prosecuted, or they take off, or why is that ratio so off?
Because you get arrested as a prostitute, not the guy behind the prostitute pushing them into servitude. That's where that number comes from. It's the amount of the victims, because of what they're doing to survive, are the ones who are being picked up more than those who are forcing them to survive in that way.
What we found with our adult clients is that it's so hard to get them to talk to law enforcement or to pursue a court case because they're terrified of their traffickers. And they'll tell you it doesn't make sense because he's going to get off anyway. He's gotten off before. While she was being trafficked, she was imprisoned and the trafficker walked free. So now I'm out of it and I'm trying to prosecute him. He's going to get off again. It's and that's really the reality that they face.
And I think sometimes the legal system makes decisions on how the witness will stand up in court, and that decision, like, we had a young person who had very specific information, went to the DA's office, prepped, And they decided that she was not a sufficient witness, which was very offensive to her and us, but we don't unfortunately have control over that. And that decision, the decision about people testifying, even if they want to testify, is not always in their hands. So you might have a 17 or 18 like ready to testify, and if the DA decides, you know what, they're not going to be a great witness, I don't think this case is going to actually go forward, they decide that. The people who are survivors do not always get to testify even if they want to.
So thank you all for coming. We're about to get ready to put the backpacks together. I'm going to ask the Rotarians to come up so I can just give them a couple last minute instructions. And then if you have the time to stay with us and build, please do. If you're like, no, I got to go, the snow's going to be starting to snow, just drive home safely, okay? Again, thank you very much for coming this evening.